Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, top of the morning to everybody here in America. Glad to have you there. I am not in America, so it's top of the afternoon to me. It's about 2 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock in the Central African time zone, where I'm broadcasting, as you can see on the screen, live from Rwanda. I got a little bit of backdrop here. I'm in an area of Kigali, Rwanda called Remera. It's kind of where the happening nightlife happens. I'm at a hotel in the Remera area. Usually I'm more near city center, but this time I've chosen to be in the Remera area and check out a new space because I bring so many guests, and this is a hotel that's just coming online, and I wanted to be one of the first people to stay here and find out if in the future I want to bring guests here. But I know some of you are tuned in right now only because on the subject line about what the show's going to be about today, you saw that we would be talking about horse herpes. I know it. You thought you were tuning in and said live from Rwanda, and then you look at the scripture on Rumble and some of the descriptions that are out there. Depending on the feed, it says we're going to talk about Netanyahu, his pardon. We're going to talk about Trump's MRI. We're going to talk about all sorts of things, and then it says horse herpes. I'm going to get to the horse herpes story in just a moment. If you're curious about horses and herpes, boy, do I have news for you. Anyway, glad to have you here. Lakey is unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here I am broadcasting live across the globe. And for those of you that think it's a flat earth, whatever, I don't know how you get on a flat earth or whether we're going over whatever, but I'm in Rwanda. And I don't think it's a Hollywood stage. I think I'm actually in a foreign country. I believe I am. I don't think I was time traveled or transported or anything like that. I don't think this is a Truman Show. I think I'm actually here. Anyway, glad to have you here. Let's dive into some topics of conversation. Yes, I will talk about horse herpes today. I know you're excited about that. You never want to miss it. Anytime someone's going to talk about horse herpes, it's a real big deal. I mean, very rarely do you get a story about horse herpes. But I got a couple of questions for you. Anybody watch the Monday night football game last night? I woke up and thought this might be a joke, but anybody tell me what happened to this kicker? I don't know. I'm not a kicker myself. But,
whoops.
The New York Giants. I watched it again. I missed the ball. I wonder if he got turf toe from that. I'm just kind of wondering. Let's watch it again. If anybody can explain if you're a kicker, I should reach out to my old buddy Jeff Hayes, who used to coach kicking in college and pros, and ask him how this happens. That a kicker actually just misses the ball.
Whoops.
New York Giants. They're NFC's rivals in the Dallas Cowboys, so more power to you. Grab all you want, you Sacagawea, New York Giants. I don't like you anyway, so we can do about that. As you know, I'm in Rwanda. We'll dive into some news stories. Our buddy Dennis Neal, who used to be with Fox News Business and also CNBC, he's going to join us, have him be with us in a couple of months. We're going to talk to him. Yesterday, I talked to Michael Letts on the show, and we asked Michael if he could come back on this week, and sure enough, he is. He's going to come back on the show, not just about stopping immigration from third world countries after these Afghanistan terrorist attacks, but also the topic I mentioned to him yesterday was Pam Bondi says, hey, some of you states have these concealed carry laws, and that's unconstitutional. People should be able to carry that. She says these concealed carry regulations are absolutely unconstitutional. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. So we'll talk to Michael Letts coming up about that as well. And then from SaveTheWest.com, we have our old buddy Kenneth Abramowitz going to come on, talk about peace in the Middle East, talk about Hezbollah. They're still on the march. Hamas, Hezbollah. Has there been any change even since the peace deals have been struck? So all of those topics are coming up on the show. What else do we have in the program for you today? I want to ask you is the Trump MRI. Again, the media never asked anything about Joe Biden's health. As a matter of fact, they ran a propaganda scheme about Joe Biden's healthy, and you have Karine Jean-Pierre that ran around the White House saying how wonderful and great health, and he could run circles around the young kids there. And you found out he was a demented man, pooping his pants probably, and just having a real problem. But the media was never curious about that. Donald Trump had his second physical of 2025. It was a follow-up to his first physical, and it was one that contained an MRI. My understanding, I'm not a medical professional, nor have I ever examined Donald John Trump, But yes, I see in the chat room you're wanting to know about horse herpes. I got a story about horse herpes. I guess horses have been having unprotected relations. I don't know. I'm just going to give you the story. You figure out how they get it. I'll get to that story in a second. So Donald John Trump goes in and he's going to have an MRI, and they do an MRI of his heart and vascular system, and I guess they also do his belly area. They do a kind of an MRI just to check things out. And I think from what I'm reading, again, not a medical professional, it was an MRI of just to see if everything's flowing regularly, because as you know, earlier in the year, they talked about his ankles were swelling, and it's just a circulatory thing that happens within your 80-year-old man, and they were just checking to make sure. Well, they made a huge big deal about that. And it's all fiasco. Donald Trump, he's got bad health. He's got this. And then they released the medical reports and say, oh, it was all hyperbole. It was all hype. It was all the propaganda machine of a media that has never learned its lessons. So you have that. So they're pushing Donald Trump to put out his MRI report. He must be hiding something. He probably has a giant tumor. And as Donald Trump said, it's the most perfect MRI ever. He's the most healthy you've ever seen in a human being. No one has ever been healthier than Donald John Trump. It was a preventative, or I guess just kind of a preventive maintenance, and just kind of making sure there was no constrictive vessels that were causing the blood flow, and just to check him out. But because of that, the media draws this huge bit of hyperbole. And if there's anybody out there that hears the media, ABC, NBC, CBS, any of these jackwagons still talking about Donald Trump, you know that they're lying. You know that every story has to do with hyperbolic, inflammatory, clickbait type of rhetoric, because they are suffering from the Trump derangement syndrome. So anyway, if you were worried about President Trump, I'm sorry, it was the most perfect MRI ever. You've had an MRI. I don't know if I've had an MRI, but if you ever have one, yours will never be as perfect as what his was. It's amazing, most amazing MRI. His was gold. It's fantastic. So there is that story. All right, I want to get to the horse herpes stories before I embarrass myself in front of our guest, Dennis Neal, because, he's an esteemed guy. He used to work with CNBC and Fox News, and I don't want to embarrass us talking about horse herpes. The Colorado State, and by the way, if you're out of state, you don't know that in January, right after Christmas, we have something in Colorado called the Western Stock Show. And the Great Western Stock Show is an amazing event. It's people say you can't take your Christmas lights off your house or turn them off until after the stock show. It's a tradition for lazy people to use an excuse to keep their Christmas lights up longer than they used to be. But it's the Great Western Stock Show. It's at the Stockyards, the stock show area in the just north of the downtown Denver area, and all sorts of cowboys and ranchers show up from all over the place, and they do their thing at the stock show. And why they don't do it in warmer weather, I have no clue. But they do it in the wintertime, and sometimes it's very cold. But it's a big event. A lot of people go there. Well, I have to break the news to you. The Colorado State Veterinarian's Office has issued an alert for the Centennial State of Colorado and horse owners related to sometimes fatal equine herpes virus that is outbreaking in Texas and Oklahoma. They say the outbreak happened starting November the 21st after some barrel racing and rodeo events that happened in Texas and Oklahoma. So evidently you have these equine that are out there, and they're doing the barrel racing, they're doing the rodeo events. And evidently these horses get back to the stables, and they're going to blow off some steam like real cowboys would. And I don't know what they're doing back in the stable, but evidently something's happening. And all of a sudden, the Colorado State Veterinarian's Office, per a press release, says equine herpes, which is known as EHV1, is highly contagious. It's sometimes fatal. It's capable of causing serious neurological disease in a horse, and it's myoencephalopathy, and it's herpes. The report comes from the University of Missouri's College of Veterinary Medicine. Notes that while humans can spread the virus between horses via contact, that's weird. Current public health guidelines indicate that these diseases do not infect humans. So, according to officials, this outbreak was connected to horses that were present at a barrel racing rodeo events in Texas and Oklahoma. Following these events, the Colorado State Veterinarian Office received identifying information about local horses that may be at risk, with owners contacted and informed about potential exposure. So can you imagine your horse is out at a barrel racing event? your horses out at some kind of event in Texas and Oklahoma. You get all the way back to Colorado. You put your horses up, and you get a call from the doctor and say, "Hey, we'd like you to know that your horse might have gotten herpes on the latest trip." At least one Colorado horse tested positive for the herpes on November the 20th after returning from an event in Waco, Texas. Evidently, this was not a good Baptist horse that was paying attention and behaving himself at the Baylor University. This was a naughty horse, and a horse was doing something at Waco, Texas, and the horse and others on the premises have been quarantined. And while other horses showed initial signs of fever, they're not. Some have since started to show neurological things. So what they're basically saying is the horse herpes could impact the National Western Stock Show. So if you're going to the National Western Stock Show or you're taking your horses there, you might want to be very, very careful as to why it is that they be careful with your horses because they could get the herpes. I don't want that to happen to them, but they could get the herpes and it could affect the National Western Stock Show. And if you go to the National Western Stock Show in January and you start seeing the fewer horses, it's because either the horses are in quarantine or people are keeping them away. And again, I don't know how the horses get out and about, smoking cigarettes, drinking beer, and all of a sudden after the event, herpes starts happening at these events. It's shameful that these horses have done this and behaved this way, but however they got it, they got the herpes. And Jeff asked the question, do they have cold sores? I don't know. Do they get the purple pills? I don't know. I don't know what they take for horse herpes, but it's very dangerous. It's the neurological form of herpes. It's very deadly and contagious. Thank you, Leslie. We appreciate that. I don't know much about it. I just hear the word herpes and I go, They were in Waco. Waco's the home of Baylor University. It seems like they should have been going to chapel at Baylor University. Sounds like they shouldn't have been. You've heard of whoring around? They shouldn't have been horsing around. You get the idea. There's your horse herpes story. I'm not making fun of it. I feel bad for the horses, but it's when you hear herpes, you imagine that there's some kind of bad behavior going on, and that's shameful. Here's the story. Speaking of shameful and misbehavior, there's a story out there, and I've got to post this up. You won't believe it. A missing man was reportedly intoxicated, and he went missing. He was missing. Obviously, he's a missing man. He went missing. But I guess he didn't know he was missing because he walked up on the streets, and there was a search party going out to look for the missing man. Let me read the story. A missing man, reportedly intoxicated, spent hours assisting a search party that was trying to locate him. His presence went unnoticed until the very end of the operation. Authorities say that alcohol likely contributed to the man's confusion, turning a routine rescue into an unusual and humorous situation. The story here, this moral of the story, kids, it highlights both the dangers of intoxication and the bizarre twist that can occur during a search and rescue effort. The man is walking the streets, going into the woods, looking under piles of rubble to see if he finds the missing man, only to realize that the missing man they're looking for is actually him. That's what booze will get you, and I think part of the search party might have been drunk as well. All right, great to have all of you here on the show. I don't know what else to tell you. Let's talk about the pardon of Netanyahu. That's an interesting story. Netanyahu has been persecuted by the Israeli government and political opposition really as long as Donald Trump has, and he's still facing some indictment even though he was elected as prime minister. Netanyahu is now he's going to the president of Israel. They have a different form of government and said, hey, this is nonsense. Will you pardon me? No word from Israel as to whether Netanyahu is going to get the pardon. We'll ask Kenneth Abramowitz that a little bit later on the show. But Netanyahu has sought after a pardon, and that is a good thing. I hope he gets that because I think you have a lot of this is just a blatant act of political persecution that happens all the time. We'll also be talking to Michael Letts here in just a moment. The U.S. government is now going to crack down. Kristi Noem's going to crack down and say, why are we letting some of these people at all in here from third world countries? Maybe we need to stop this nonsense. Maybe we need to not allow third world people into this country, especially without vetting. And I think that's a great policy. We'll talk about that with Michael Letts coming up here on the program. We're waiting the arrival of Dennis Neal, who's going to join us here in just a second. He's got a brand new book dealing with not just communism and Mamdani in America. Dennis Neal has a book about Oregon. We talked about New York City in Mamdani, but I believe Dennis has a great history in Oregon and in Portland, and he's written a book called Oregoners. And we'll talk about that here in just a bit with Dennis Neal as soon as he arrives into the studio here on the Lakey Unleashed Streamcast. As many of you know, I am broadcasting live from, Dennis Neal has arrived? Oh, Dennis is there. I hope he didn't hear about us talking about horse herpes, because if he heard us talking about horse herpes, he may be offended. I don't know. I'm hoping. I did not hear him enter the green room. So, Dennis, if you heard horse herpes story, where really it was a very serious veterinarian story. That's all it was. Horse herpes was all about veterinarian. These listeners out here are making some nasty comments, but not me. It was a straight-laced reporting. I'm in Rwanda. I'm straight-laced as can be. You see the countryside? Somebody messaged me earlier and said, all your photos, I see all these beautiful hills in Rwanda. Where do they come from? I said, well, they usually come from the ground and go up. The Rwanda is called the land of 1,000 hills. And it's really, I call it Northern California, the most beautiful parts of California with a severe poverty problem. Now, where I'm at is not necessarily the most impoverished part of Rwanda. I stay in the Kigali area in a district now called Remera. I used to be in city center, but I've changed out to try a new hotel that's joining the Hilton family here real soon. And I'm seeing if the Hilton family wants to recruit my business and my love and endorsement from the Marriott family. I'm competitive like that. That's what I'm doing. So brand new project here that I'm working at. And you can see it's a glorious project, new hotel for me. And they just opened a couple of weeks ago. So I am a special guest in the hotel and seeing if they can impress me. And so far, it has been very, very impressive. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Mamdani. We talked about communism. We talked about the youngsters yesterday, socialism, and the university campuses. You might remember his voice, his face, and his skill on the Fox Business Channel, and probably most recognized from CNBC. He's in the United States. I'm in Rwanda, but the magic of technology connects us together. And here we go. Dennis Neal, welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, Jimmy. It's good to see you again. I thought you were pulling a joke first when you talked about being in Rwanda. I know a dark pool CEO who was helping rebuild parts of that country, years after the genocide. It really gave his life an extra dose of meaning, so that you're there part of a development project, it seems like, in that land is just a wonderful thing when you think about it, because I truly believe that business and investment and capitalism are the way to reform any country. They're the way to really build better lives.
Yeah, and not just we've got my friends who do a lot of business guys here, but I'll just go ahead and bore you with this. This is the school we're building here, Dennis. My son is adopted from Rwanda, if you don't know that story, and I promised all the kids that I couldn't adopt that I would take care of them. My son was adopted at 3. He turns 21 this year, plays Division I college football in America, but I'm still 20-something years later taking care of orphans and children here. And I'll just show you, this is me arriving yesterday on our school campus, and we'll get to your new book. And let me see if I can find the right button. Let's go. Roll the tape.
Rivers promise. I just arrived on the campus of Legacy Christian Academy, our great school, and the kids just found me. I tried to sneak out of the car, and they always find me. I try to sneak away. How are you? Oh, good. Tagakunda. There we are. Legacy Christian Academy. Do you see your sponsored kid in here anywhere? Look around. Beautiful faces. If you don't see your sponsored kid, maybe these kids could be your sponsored kid. Everybody say hello.
There you go. So that's our school, because the economic development is so important. But in a country like this, Dennis, if they don't have the education, we got to teach them English. We teach English only at our school. Our kids speak English because they know that the development here is coming not from freaking communist countries somewhere else. The development is coming from freedom-loving Western people that believe in capitalism, and they want to learn to speak English. And that's what we're teaching, so that developments like I'm at now, we have a future generation of people that can work at these things. It's a pretty amazing concept. that no one's looking to the countries where Mamdani comes from or these socialists come from to develop the country like this.
You know, as you watch that video, Jimmy, I mean, it is so touching. I'm sorry to get a little maudlin here or corny, but look at those little faces, okay? And you don't have to give them $1 million. You just have to give them some hope and some attention and some focus that says you're important. And think of the number of lives over 20 years that you have touched and helped make better just by giving the effort. I mean, I haven't done anything approaching what you're doing there in Rwanda in my life, not even close. I adopted my daughter in China. She's now in Boston, 25 years old. She's a nurse. It's, of course, the very best thing I ever did. But you've just taken it so much farther, and I salute you. And I'll bet that it's incredibly rewarding inside your heart to feel like you're making this impact and doing good in the world for these little individual people.
It is. I was in one of the hotels, one of the big chains, and up walked this girl to me. She's a young lady at the time, and she's working there. Speaks perfect English to me. She's working for a Marriott brand here. And she says, "Papa, do you know me?" And I said, "I don't know you." She says, "I was in the orphanage that you closed down, and I went on to get school, and now I can work in tourism." And before that, honestly, a girl like that could have ended up becoming a prostitute. They had no hope. But because we got her into school system, she was working at a great hotel, probably one of the best jobs she could get of a girl of her stature. So it is rewarding, and we're glad to be part of it. Why doesn't all of America, Dennis, see the hope of capitalism, to see the hope of freedom? You have, you've written a book about Oregon and Portland and the nonsense there. You've got Mamdani that has duped the people of New York City. We see what freedom and capitalism and economic enterprise do in a country like this, and we seem to be willing to give it up in America.
You know, there's been a war on capitalism in America. America used to be the land of opportunity, where we strive to give everyone an equal opportunity, a shot at making something of themselves. And I think around the start of the Obama era, especially, and the lurch far left of the Democrat Party, they turned America into a land of envy, where they're constantly talking about how, because rich people have all the stuff they have, that's why you don't have enough of what you want to have, when really the rich people are creating wealth for many others, even as they make themselves rich. By the way, this new book I'm working on, I'm in the process of writing it and researching now. It's not out yet. A working title, Oregoners. It's because having lived in New York for 43 years, having seen this city just elect this foreign-born, newly minted U.S. citizen, kind of groomed by Muslim groups, coming in as a socialist, you know, then I became interested in Oregon and in Portland, because in Portland last November, voters said, "Hey, New York, you know, hold my beer." They elected 4 members of the Democrat Socialists of America, the group that backed Mamdani. They elected 4 members to a 12-member council. They now dominate the agenda, and they're still trying to cut police budgets. They're still doing all kinds of things that are hurting the city and the state. Oregon, I've been told I've got to pronounce it right because I am not an experienced Oregoner. But Oregon is in danger of killing itself. Its population growth has slowed so much that by 2030, births will exceed deaths, and the economy can't grow if the people aren't growing with it. It sees $1 billion a year in income leave the metropolitan area of Portland because high earners are fleeing some of the highest tax rates in the country. Portland has the 2nd highest tax rate of any city in America after only New York City. The one difference being, as I spent a week there a week or 2 ago, interviewing lots of town officials and leaders and political guys and business owners. And they point out the big difference being that we have the 2nd highest taxes, but Portland is no New York City. It ain't even close. It's beautiful, but it's small. It's the only major media market in the state. And so Portland's problems end up dominating the rest of the state. You can't fix the state unless you fix Portland. And yet the voter base is more liberal and unquestioning than ever. But Jimmy, for the first time, you're seeing a huge pushback on the part of the people. You're seeing a new survey taken in late September that shows that 67% of voters say, "Oh, we're headed on the seriously wrong track." Something like 60% say we should not be going after climate change and progressive policies. We should be working on business and growth. And there's a real worry here that they're going to stop growing because they are crushing business.
Let me ask you, is this a new sentiment among voters, or are voters just waking up? I know a lot of times locally, it's the leftists, the socialists that get involved in school boards. That's how they run our public schools. They get involved in city council election. And maybe me on the conservative side, all my colleagues, we're pissed off at Washington, D.C., shaking our fist at Nancy Pelosi and not paying attention locally. Is it a new thought that we've got to stand up against this stuff? Or is it just the average people activating and saying, oh, I should have been paying attention to this?
You know, I think in Oregon, which suffers from a lack of diversity of ideas, it hasn't elected a Republican as governor statewide since 1982, I think it is. And I talked to one guy here, I mean, there in Portland when I was there a week or two ago. His name is Kevin Looper. He's a political operative for the Democrats. He feels like he played a big role over the last 20 years in building a dominant party in the state so that it's got a 60-vote majority in the state legislature so that basically it cannot be stopped. And now, years later, he says, I realize that's the problem. When you have no true opposition, no loyal or even disloyal opposition to stop you, then you can put through anything you want. And that's what they've done. And they just keep raising taxes and raising taxes. You know, for example, they put on a free preschool for all. We'll tax only households making more than $250,000 a year, but we won't let them send their kids to the free preschool. They're not allowed. And, you know, we're going to sign up 40,000 children for this preschool. Well, they end up raising millions and tens of millions of dollars a year. And so far they have enrolled only 2,200. So the government has no accountability. It's incredibly incompetent and inefficient in many ways. You know, I watched a city council meeting online for October 8th, Jimmy, and a dozen business owners got up and testified to scary, harrowing stories, being assaulted and robbed downtown and burglarized 12 different times, and homeless people camping right outside your business entrance. You know, I interviewed a lawyer. She was a lawyer downtown for 20 years, this beautiful young blonde person, and she gets attacked by a homeless drug user, presumably, on the way from her parked car right into her office building. This is when 2024, she never went back again. She was so scared and rattled. And it happens all the time down there. And when you go around looking at the city, first of all, it's over 33% vacant occupancy downtown. Foot traffic is off 50% from pre-COVID. Even the city officials who are supposed to be working downtown, a lot of them don't even bother going to the office, which means they don't see the problems. And you see tents and tarps of the homeless everywhere. They all look alike. They're all uniform. Yeah. And that's because the county hands them out free. And then every few weeks or months, a city cleaning crew comes out and sweeps the place and confiscates all the trash and all the tarps and throws it all out. And then the county issues more tents and tarps to the homeless. And the problem is, if you want to really address the homeless problem, you have to make homelessness as uncomfortable and miserable as possible. As one guy told me, who was homeless for 4 years in Portland, and instead Portland does everything it can. It spends over $700 million a year on, I think it's 7,000 homeless in the Tri-County area. And they make it as comfortable as possible. They bring you, you know, food that you can eat and clean needles. And here's an unused crack pipe. Here you go. And that's the wrong approach to homelessness. And they've got a crisis on their hands, and the leaders don't even realize it.
I remember a couple of months ago, Portland was in the news because there was rioting in the streets and President Trump was thinking about sending in the guard. The local officials there seemed to say there's nothing to see here. We have no violence on the street. And mainstream media stayed away and reported the only reason we had any footage of that was because these independent journalists, web-based YouTubers were out there filming and at times getting assaulted out there. It's not just as if they're in denial. It's as if they're in cover-up as to what's happening in that city.
Yeah, anytime, well, you know what, I talked to a Republican operative here named Dan Levy in Portland, and he said, we are hurt here by the nationalization of all local politics. The local issues get totally covered over in the local opposition to all things Trump. So as soon as Trump said in the last week of September, hey, you know, for over 100 consecutive nights, the ICE building in Portland has been under attack by a few dozen Antifa-style protesters. You know, they locked the doors with zip ties and tried to set the building on fire. They shine lasers in the lights of helicopters who are bringing in people in and out of the site. And so he wants to do that. And then the governor came out against it, and the 2 U.S. senators, and the entire 6-member congressional delegation, and the mayor. And meanwhile, you go talk to the business owners, and they're saying, hey, bring it on. And as the lawyer who was assaulted told me, her name's Kristen Olson, she said, it's not just downtown. It's not just the ICE facility, 1 square block that they're saying is problems. She said, there's problems in every single district here. Every single neighborhood, you cannot feel safe. Even in the Tony Pearl district is not safe to go out on the streets in the evening. People get in before sunset.
It's amazing. I've been to cities like that, even in downtown Denver at times. I don't like walking the streets after hours. I try to avoid downtown Denver because they tried to make homelessness as comfortable as possible. Right behind me are the streets of Rwanda, a third world country, and I would have no problem walking anywhere here late at night. They'll keep you safe. They want to make sure that the tourists are safe as well. It's amazing that you can come to a country like this. Rwanda is an exception in Africa. It's kind of the jewel of safety in Africa, most beautiful and safe country probably on the continent. But they get it. They understand. They understand that businesses like where I'm at, with it, inspired by money from Western organizations, are not going to happen if they can't keep people safe.
Well, the best way to make that happen is policing, right? And at that city council meeting, just about every business owner that testified said, look, what we really need is more police, please, more police. And the counselors never said, we're sorry for your pain, for your break-ins, your burglaries, your assaults, the fights with broken glass that are happening among drifters who come in. They never apologized. They just said, yeah, thanks, next story. Now along comes this guy, Dan Levy, the Republican operative. He's working on a new city proposal, get enough ballot signatures to get it on there, because that's the way they run that place, is ballot measures, to raise policing there from 1.2 cops per 1,000 people, which is a national low and was the level of the 1990s, to 2.0 cops per 1,000, and that's the national average. That would be going from 800 cops in Portland to 1,200, a 50% increase. Where will he get the money? He wants to take $50 million from a homeless tax fund that raised huge sums of money in recent years, millions upon millions, tens of millions of dollars. They spend over $700 million a year, and yet it's not tackling the problem at all. It's not eliminating it. Let's just take 50 million and put it into cops. And yet the locals there are still so brainwashed that it's hard to know whether that thing will pass.
Dennis Neal is my guest. If you're listening later on in the program, we see upload this to the podcast platforms. Thousands of earballs will hear this show. That's Dennis Neal. You might remember the name from CNBC, Fox Business News. If you don't remember how to spell it, look it up. Kneale, Dennis Neal. Dennis, real quick before we run short on time, the new book you mentioned, Oregoners, is coming out, and you also have a podcast that people should tune in called What's Bugging Me. So I'll ask you first, what's bugging you right now, and then talk about the new book.
You know, I am just shocked and appalled at the Democrat response. It's programmed, orchestrated, the response to the shooting of 2 National Guards people stationed in Washington, D.C. They didn't blame the shooter. They didn't blame maybe we should tone down some rhetoric and stop calling the other side Nazis. They blamed President Trump. Those 2 National Guardsmen didn't need to be there. If they hadn't been there, they wouldn't have been shot. Well, let's just pull all troops out of all of Europe. Let's pull out troops off of everywhere in the world, because my gosh, if anybody gets hurt, it's going to be Trump's fault for having them stationed there. I mean, nothing this man does will ever win their approval, and they can't afford to ever work with him on anything because he's all they've got. They have no strategy. They have no plan for building the economy, for making life affordable. No, it's just oppose Trump. And then that ends up filtering down to local places like Portland, where it's all about opposing Trump instead of about getting our homeless off the streets. Let's get, let's stamp out crime by hiring more cops. They get blinded by just the nationalization of politics, as this guy told me.
That's what's bugging you, Dennis Neal. If folks want to hear the podcast, they can just look for it on all the podcast platforms. Whenever they're listening to this one, just kind of scroll over and go to What's Bugging Me, Dennis Neal, Kneale. Dennis, when does the new book come out?
You know, I've got to write it as fast as possible because it's in the news every day. Right now, they're raising thousands, tens of thousands of signatures for another ballot proposal, capping tax increases and saying enough of this for the Department of Transportation, I think it is. And so I got to write it within 6 months. and I got to get it out fast after that. And so, the book publishing industry is the one big industry left that has not been utterly changed by the internet age. They still have patches on their elbows. They still need 9 months to publish a book. I mean, give me a break. That thing ought to be out in a week. They say they got to incentivize the sales channel, but how about you just get that thing out there? This is an urgent book, and it's a canary in the coal mine. Portland is for the rest of the country, for the blue cities that are letting homelessness kind of camp anywhere they want because they want to help them, mend their lives, and all of these lax policies and this lack of discipline is going to hurt the country and continue to do so until we rise up and push back. And I want to help Oregoners do that.
Yep. This hotel complex I'm at is called Zaria Court. This week it affiliates with this next week. They're working out the bugs and they're still building it kind of. It will affiliate with the Hilton Tapestry Collection. And what's interesting is some of the names attached to it are famous in America if you follow the National Basketball League, but they were immigrants that showed up, played in the NBA, and then came back and said, oh, my continent could use some help. They learned something from America. They're investing it right back here. And one of the primary principals on this complex here, it's absolutely amazing. He played in the NBA, and he's an executive now for one of the NBA teams. And they all learned something when they got to come to America. They learned that capitalism works and they can help their people if they will they'll avoid socialism and embrace capitalism and economic investments. So good for the NBA. I've got a lot of criticisms for them, but these players and this one player in particular doing great things here in the country of Rwanda. If you're ever in Rwanda, I'll come with you. I'll give you a great tour, Dennis. But Zaria Court, they're winning my love here. They're winning my love.
That's really nice. Imagine if Obama had done that for Chicago after leaving office, had moved back to Chicago to try to help mend that city and use capitalism to do it. But it's just not his way.
Yeah, I won't even make the comment. Imagine if Obama had invested more in Kenya, but I'm not going to say that. His brother wouldn't live in a hut. Anyway, Dennis, it's a pleasure to have you here. If folks want to follow you and know when the book's coming out, where do they go?
My biggest platform is X. At Dennis Neal on the X platform. X is the most important, vital media platform in the world now. No question. All the media said that Elon Musk was going to kill X. And by the way, check out my book. The Leadership Genius of Elon Musk makes a great Christmas gift. 11 lessons of Elon to live a better life and have a better career.
And I'll link up. We have a podcast you and I did a couple of months ago on that very topic. We'll put it up here in the next couple of days and let everybody see it. Dennis, it's a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for hopping on the program. And let's talk again soon. Congratulations on the new book. Lakey here, running behind schedule. But I'm in Rwanda. I'm on Africa time. Leave me alone. Don't judge me. I'm sitting. You got a better view. I know there's kind of a lighting thing, but hey. This is grassroots broadcasting, podcasting, and streamcasting. Glad to have all of you here. I want to go to Michael Lutzman, guest of the program. We talked to him yesterday. I told him I was having him back on, and sure enough, here we are going to do that. We also have Kenneth Abramowitz coming up with SaveTheWest.com. I'm in Rwanda, and I want to remind you about our charity work. I'll show you another video about that in a second before we wrap up and do the meme roulette. We'll get everything out of here right close to on time today. So everybody stay in class, stay seated, and don't talk to your neighbor. You don't want to miss a part of it. I want to remind you of Sherry Cree, one of our great sponsors of the show, homeswithsherry.com. You see the building here? That is the first phase of our Legacy Christian Academy. That is kindergartners on the left. You can see the rows of kids. That's a couple of 100 or so. I don't know how many kids it is. Those are all kids that go to class in that building. We did the ribbon cutting on that building about a year and a half ago, and Sherry Cree was with us for the ribbon cutting. She's been in Rwanda. Her and her husband traveled with us there. They've been great supporters of Rivers Promise. And I just say that to say that there's a tie-in with Sherry, that she supports this program. And she also supports Rivers Promise. If you want to talk about real estate and real estate transactions, I would encourage you to reach out to her. Maybe you're not going to sell a house over Christmas. I get it. But if you're thinking of March, April, May, you're thinking of a springtime, talk to her about the nuances in Colorado and what the market's going to do, what the interest rates are projected to do, what home values. And so let her start, first of all, interview these people. Make sure you're just getting the best realtor, not just somebody handed you a business card, but also the strategy and the timing. It's all very important. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. She has stood in front of that very building right there, celebrating the ribbon cutting with so many that flew over with us a year and a half ago. And it's homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, and reach out. You got a real estate transaction, Denver metro area, Boulder area, Broomfield, all up to Fort Collins, Greeley, Westminster, the Longmont. You know where you're at, down to Park Meadows, homeswithsherry.com. And if it's an area that she is outside of her purview, she has a free referral service anywhere in the state or the country. She can help you find somebody to help you. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, he's waiting patiently. His name is Michael Letts. He was with us yesterday. 2 days in a row, we have hit the lottery. Michael, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. It's always a privilege to be with you, Jimmy. Unfortunately, they got to get me out of here in about 10 minutes, but I'm looking forward to always being with you.
I do, and I apologize for the delay here. We're just running short, but let me just zip right here. I left yesterday saying, what's Pam Bondi saying? She's saying that a lot of these concealed carry restrictions that are in states are not constitutional. A lot of states say, well, you can conceal carry, but here's the guidelines you have to go. Is Pam Bondi saying that every American should have the right to carry a weapon, concealed or unconcealed?
We're looking at that, yes, and we're looking at that now within the administration. Quite frankly, we think we've come to the point in this country, Jimmy, that everybody needs to be carrying. You say, why would I make such a statement? Jimmy, we've got a real serious problem when it comes to terrorism. I told you there's over 1,000 now. Sleeper cell, we expect great activity, and we're going to need help. Talking about for our law enforcement and for our first responders, we want to make sure every American has the ability. It's a constitutional right. You have the right to defend yourself, to defend your family, to protect your kids. We think that there shouldn't be anything that would cause you to second guess that. There have been too many politicians that have tried to drill into your mind. Don't touch a gun. Don't own a gun. You're going to get in trouble if you do. That's not how this country was founded, and we're going to try to get back to the original constitutional basis, and that is if you need to carry, you make sure that you know how to use it. That's the key we want to say is if you're going to carry, make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you know what you're in the point, how to use it, and how to be accurate in what you do.
I'm guessing, and again, I want to get another topic before you have to run. How does this work? She comes out, makes a declaration that, hey, we've got too many restrictions on gun ownership, carrying weapons to protect yourself. Our founders never intended that. That wasn't the founders. It wasn't for hunting. It was for protection against tyranny, all that. What happens next? Is a state going to challenge it? Is it going to the Supreme Court? Obviously, it's not the magic wand that's going to happen.
The president will issue an executive order. And then, of course, you say, oh, great, I get to run out tomorrow and start carrying. No, because before that executive order signature dries, there'll be challenges from states all across the country, I'm sure, going into the court system. It'll put it on abeyance and on hold until it works its way through the Supreme Court. We're determined to make sure that we get that for the American people.
All right, I want to bring up another topic of conversation. We dressed on kind of hit on yesterday that we have a security issue in America. Obviously, these Afghanistan terrorists that were imported over here. They murdered one and severely injured another of our National Guard. The Trump administration has said we've got to stop it. We've got to stop importing these people from third worlds for a period of time. Help me understand, where are we at on this? I think there's been an order by Kristi Noem that says stop it from third world countries. That
is correct. Kristi met with the president yesterday, got the president's directive. He's willing to make an executive order if necessary. We believe that the Department of Homeland Security has the right to suspend all visas entries into this country until they are deemed to be adequately safe and secure for the American people. And you remember that's been the problem, Jimmy. You know, the previous administration, it was come one, come all. We didn't care what your background was. In fact, we didn't even care if you even checked in. Just walk across the border anytime you feel like doing it. We're putting an end to that. And what we're going to do is not just put a pause and a freeze on people coming into this country now, but we're going to go back now. And this was going to really create some issues. You're going to see some hot heads answering this edict here shortly. Is we're going to go back in now with whether it's the Afghans, the Somalians, the Haitians, whoever it is. You came over here. We're going to first of all go back now and take a look at everybody that came and vet you. Second of all, we're going to determine, are you here? Did that visa have an expiration date? If it did and you're still here, you better make sure you're packed by 5. You're gone. And then thirdly, this is what's going to really create the issue. We're going to take a look at what have you been doing while you're here? Oh, we've got videos of you dancing out in the street saying death to America. We don't need your kind. Get on the plane. You're gone. And this is about the time that we need to start doing that, Jimmy. It's time we get aggressive in protecting the interests of Americans instead of protecting the interests of foreign nationals who are determined to destroy us.
One more quick question. I know you got to run. Kristi Noem has made the comment that these Afghanistan terrorists were actually radicalized here, that they came here and they didn't come radicalized. They got radicalized in the United States. How does that happen? What's going on in America where someone can come here, have the opportunity of coming to America, which so many want, and somehow they get radicalized when they're here?
Well, when you bring them here, first of all, I disagree. I think Chrissy's half right. Okay. I think a lot of these people, when you take a look at their culture and their background, they have some prejudice against America to begin with. But you bring them over here unvetted. You don't know what their background is. You drop them off. Where do they migrate to? They migrate to those of similar interests, to the mosque, to other things. You know what they're being taught in those mosques. We all know this. Nobody wants to say it publicly. I'm going to say it publicly. These mosques are telling their congregations, America stinks. America's horrible. America should be brought down. America, we should attack America and rise up against it. Islam should prevail in every home in America. That is their quote, not mine. And we're going to start instituting it now. That's the way they feel about it. Shut them down. They need to be gone.
Yeah. Michael, that's always a pleasure. We talked yesterday about the importance of this time as these terrorists and these anti-American creatures have infected our society, that we have law enforcement now, National Guard people that are out on the streets and they don't have active shooter vests. It's not part of the protocol for them to be issued that. That's the work you do at investusa.org, investusa.org. If you mentioned yesterday that if these National Guard people had this active shooter vest, it would have been a different results on the streets of Washington, D.C. People can go to the website and they can donate, they can learn more, they can spread the word. And now is the time more important than ever before.
There's no question. What I want to make sure our audience understands is, look, we're asking them to put their lives on the line. They're more than willing to do so, but they don't have the necessary equipment. At least show them that we as Americans back them, that we have their back like they have ours. Let's make sure they have what's necessary. The Guard, remember, doesn't get all the equipment that it needs unless it's deployed to combat zones. We never determined that American cities were combat zones in the past. Unfortunately, that's the characteristic now. They need to make sure they're fully equipped if they're going to do this job.
InvestUSA.org. Michael, sorry to run a few minutes behind, but I think you and I covered a fantastic amount of territory in a very little bit of time.
We're fast talkers. Thank you, Jim, for what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. You're bringing hope to the world. God bless you. God bless America. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks. We'll talk soon, Michael. Let's in America. I'm in the beautiful country of Rwanda. Behind me, sun's starting to set. I know the glare is still a little bit wrong here, but here we are broadcasting live from the beautiful country of Rwanda. I want to remind you once again, I've got a great guest coming up. Kenneth Abramowitz is going to be here on the program. This is another photo taken just yesterday. Why do I have my hand on my heart at our school? Legacy Christian Academy. Why do I have? We're singing the school song. They've written an alma mater for our school song. We've already bought the land for the high school. This is our primary school campus. And I don't know the words to the song. As I said, it was a long song. And then I said, why is it so long? And they said, well, they were repeating it until you clapped. And so they just kept singing the song for about 4 minutes. And I'm thinking, this is the longest alma mater ever. And for some reason, they put their hand over their heart like we do the American flag. By the way, I love it. They've also, we have a Rwandan flag. You can see in some of these photos, you can see the Rwandan flag. I don't know if we have, we have a Rwandan flag, obviously, on our campus. And I have to tell you that they have said, Jimmy, next time you come, make sure you bring the American flag because we are an American school with American values and you're blessing us. So we're going to, next time I come, we're going to bring an American flag and the kids will learn about the beauty and the glory of America and the freedom and make their country great again. And it is a great country. Glad to be here in Rwanda. All right. Save the West is a great organization. Kenneth Abramowitz, a regular guest on the program. It's been a pleasure to have him through the years. And Kenneth Abramowitz jumps into the stage. Mr. Abramowitz, welcome back to the show, sir. How are you?
Yeah, great. It's great to be with you always.
I appreciate it. SaveTheWest.com. We'll talk about that. I got a couple of questions. First of all, we're talking about safety in America and safety around the world. And we talk about these radicalized cell groups that are out there. We had word a couple of weeks ago that Hamas had, quote, taken an agreement with Israel. Not sure how that's working out. And now we find out that Israel's killed a leader of another group called Hezbollah. It seems like no matter what we do, it's like whack-a-mole. We think we get Hamas under control, and then Hezbollah pops back up. And do these creatures of hate and terrorism ever go away, Mr. Abramowitz?
Yes, but you could, to make it simple, you could say we're fighting two wars. We're fighting a physical war, which you can call whack-a-mole, but we're also fighting a cultural war. As by the way, you don't think you're a cultural warrior, but you are. Your activities in Rwanda bringing Christianity to young kids and educating them with a proper curriculum. I call that cultural warfare. You can just call it education. But the point I'm getting to, if you miseducate kids, starting at the age of 0, and then put them in school that miseducates them and teaches them hate and envy and jealousy. Then when they get 18, you hand them a gun and they shoot somebody. So behind the whack-a-mole, we have to change the educational system of the bad guys. Now, by the way, we don't know how to change the educational system of the good guys.
It's true.
Now you're trying, and it's very admirable what you're doing there. But the world needs 10,000 of you, not just one of you. And in the kids, there's no such thing as a vacuum. So you either infuse kids with what we all call Judeo-Christian values, known as the Old Testament and the New Testament, the Ten Commandments, or secular values, Constitution, Bill of Rights, the values inherent in the Declaration of Independence. If we don't infuse kids' brains with what we call normal values, don't be surprised if the bad guys throw in their abnormal values. And so the warfare actually begins in kindergarten, and it just becomes obvious to people when they're 18 or 21, but the war began 20 years before that.
Yep. Let me ask you, we talk about Hamas and they quote peace deal or whatever they signed, but you're right, their education system from the time these children are preschool or kindergarten, they're being taught death to the Jews, they're being taught violence, they're raised with that. And so the adults, quote, can sign an agreement all they want. How do we get this education system to change in places like the West Bank or wherever it is? I mean, adults can sign papers all they want. But if we're not changing what the 5th, 6th, 7th graders are learning, every signature is futile, is it not?
Yes. So that's why we have to do a few things. First, you have to get rid of the bad guys running the city or the state in question. Then you have to put good guys in, and then you have to fix the education system. Then you have to retrain the teachers. Then you have to monitor the teachers, monitor the administrators, monitor the kids. It's like what we did after World War II with Germany and Japan. Why are Germany and Japan full of normal people who don't go around killing each other? When 75 or whatever years ago, they were killing everybody they could find. Okay, we took over it's not easy. But we did it. 60 million people had to die in the process, unfortunately. But we took over the governments. We brought in a new group of leaders. We changed the school system. We basically ran the countries for like 5 years and then moved away. So you need something like that to effectuate this change.
The voice of Kenneth Abramowitz, again, founder of SaveTheWest.com, a website dedicated to saving Western civilization. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. He's also written a book you probably want to avail yourself to called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. We got a lot of battles we got to fight, but you got to be aware of them so you know how to fight them. Again, the name of his latest book is called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. And again, founder of SaveTheWest.com. Ken, real quick, another quick story that's popped up the last day, 24 to 48 hours. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has gone to the Israeli president and said, hey, I would like a pardon on all these charges of corruption. Help us unpack. A lot of folks don't understand how the orientation of the Israeli government is. There's a president, there's a prime minister, and then talk about these corruption charges. Netanyahu says, I'd like to be pardoned. What say you?
Well, look, Netanyahu and Trump were both victims of the deep state. And the deep state attacked both of them for one reason in particular. They're honest. The deep state is corrupt to the core. So basically the criminals or the political criminals or the judicial criminals in Israel went after Netanyahu because he's honest, just as the judicial criminals and political criminals went after Trump because he's honest. And so Trump fortunately has a lot of money. He publicly said it cost him $400 million to fight all those suits. well, Netanyahu doesn't have $400 million, but he's got to get rid of these suits. You cannot have a sitting president or a sitting prime minister anywhere under investigation by judges. If they want to investigate him, do it afterwards, but not during. Otherwise, they can't function. I mean, it's so difficult to be a prime minister, president as it is, let alone if you have to spend a half or 25% of your time talking to lawyers. So it's totally dysfunctional. The Israeli judicial system is totally out of control. And President Trump, by the way, can fix it in 5 minutes. I have an expression, Trump can fix anything in 5 minutes. And all he has to announce is, I want these suits are ridiculous. I want them gone. I want them gone now. And if you want to investigate him after he's prime minister, go ahead, but not while he's prime minister. You don't stop, I'm going to start sanctioning all the judges, all the corrupt judges in Israel who are involved in this charade. It'll end it in 5 minutes.
Wow. The voice of Kenneth Abramowitz, you have a website called SaveTheWest.com. It's an important website because, again, you're waking everybody up to saying, hey, it's not just a little election here, a little election. There's a real battle on several different layers and different tiers. Talk about SaveTheWest.com and what will people find there, my friend?
Yes. Every week, 2 weeks, I write an article, and I have friends who write an article every 2 weeks. So every week there's something new, either from me or from one of my friends. And so it's a very fresh website. And if you sign up, there's a pop-up menu. Just put your email address in. You get an article every 2 weeks from me, and it'll help you over time learn how to save Western civilization. I basically take tidbits out of my book and insert them into my articles. And it's a public service. It's complimentary. Take advantage of it.
I see over your shoulder the cover of your book called The Multi-Front War, Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. Still an important book. It's been out for several months now, but an important book. If folks want a copy of the book, where do they go? And give the plug on that one, sir.
Yes. Well, the book was originally written about 5 years ago, and then I updated it 4 times. So now it's in its 4th edition. It's only out a few months in the 4th edition. And what I do is I add chapters. So I keep the original book the same, and then I add a chapter for edition 2, 3, and then now 4. So people who read it go immediately to the last chapter. It's Trump 2.0, and start there. If they want to read the rest of the book, go ahead, but they can read the last chapter in 30 minutes. And they can buy the book at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, any of those internet stores, and also through my website, SaveTheWest.com. And it's very easy read, and I think they'll find it very, very interesting. I had a lot of, I was going to say fun. It's not fun to write a book. It's a challenge, but I'm proud of it, and people should take advantage of it.
All right, SaveTheWest.com is the website. The name of the book, The Multi-Front War. You see it right over the back of his shoulder there. Defending America from Political Islam, China, Russia, Pandemics, and Racial Strife. Mr. Abramowitz, thanks for coming on the program again. If I don't talk to you before the holiday season, the first of the year, I will wish you a Happy New Year. We'll join again next year, but hopefully we'll talk again between now and then. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome anytime.
SaveTheWest.com, SaveTheWest.com website dedicated to saving Western civilization from itself. As you can see, it is getting dark here in Rwanda. The streets of Kigali are right over there. This is the Remera area. I am actually sitting on the balcony of my hotel. You'll have a funny story. I needed somewhere to put my camera. They're building podcast studios in this hotel complex that I'm evaluating here. And I went to say, are the podcast studios ready for me to go? They said they're not ready yet. That's how fresh this hotel is. It's affiliates with the Hilton brand. And I've been affiliated with the other brand here in Rwanda. And I'm looking to maybe switch that up. So anyway, this is going to become a Hilton. Marriott's a great hotel. I've been staying there, but I wanted to check this place out and see if they could earn my business. Big time meeting with them tomorrow. So it's a beautiful complex. You can see behind me, that there is kind of an event center stage. There's soccer courts. The big stadium, the national stadium, is just behind that. You can actually see it right over there. You can't see it. Let me see if can we lift the camera up there? Yeah, right at the top. You see, that's the big national stadium. The BK Arena is right here. This is a very busy area of town. All right, we're going to do the meme roulette, but before I do, by the way, thank you, Jeff, for the news break. Breaking news, snow has melted. I'm free to come home. Producer Chad, before the show, was telling me about how crappy the weather. Tomorrow's going to be bad weather in Colorado, and I'm also being told that Saturday is going to be awful as well. And so I'm thinking I'm not coming home. I was sitting out today thinking, why do I not stay here? A lot of times I do the show, I do a lot of stuff what I do. So stay tuned on that. I'm working on it. No, I'm dead serious. I'm working on it really hard. Yeah, no, not full time, but regularly to be here several months. Anyway, talk about that. Working on it, praying about it, see what happens on that. All right, good to have all of you here. I want to show you the work here and what has captivated my heart. We'll do the meme roulette. Everybody stay tuned. But as you know, Rivers promises the work I'm doing is on the hat, and we keep putting it on the screen. And it was really a labor of love that started off. I called it Jimmy's Orphan Project, and I just kind of started taking care of kids that were in the orphanage that my son was at. And suddenly it's grown into the building of Legacy Christian Academy, and we got a big vision, and we're not there yet. Believe me, we're not there yet. I got a long ways to go in a short time to get there, and I hate to say a lot of it comes down to funding, and we're praying every day for funding and donations, and every donation counts. It doesn't have to be a large donation. Here's something to consider. I'll be talking about this on December the 4th, which is Thursday. That is my son, River, the namesake for the organization. It'll be his 21st birthday, and I'm going to ask as many of his friends and people that know him to donate $21 in honor of 21 years. Maybe that's something that speaks to you. But listen, I don't know what speaks to you. I don't know. You may just think I'm showing. You may be like me. Sometimes you watch those late night videos where the cats and the dogs are in the cages, and you're like, well, that's nice, but it's not my cause. I get it. And maybe you just see these videos. But if there's something about these videos, you see these kids and say, man, that kid, when you see these girls in this video I'm about to show, I literally have letters of girls from these videos, and especially as they get older, writing letters when they realize the full weight of what's happened and going to Legacy Christian Academy or us sending them to school. I literally have letters in which they say, thank you. I realize now that I would have become a prostitute. That's the only way. My friends who didn't have my opportunity, they would have had to prostitute themselves. I mean, it literally is a matter of, it's not just a cute kid. He gets to go to our school versus this school. These are kids that don't get anything, and they were never going to school. A lot of these kids, and we're several years into this now, but a lot of the older kids, literally when I found them out in the streets, they were street kids. They were hustling. They were doing their best. Some of them were straight out orphans. A lot of them had very little clothing on because they had no clothes. People were living, as in their own words, they were living like animals. And we have totally transformed the whole area. I'll tell you this, and I'm going to show you a video, and then we'll do the meme roulette. When we first started sending kids to trade school, once they get a certain age, you may not start school till 9 years old if we didn't sponsor you, and you can't just start at that level. You start back at kindergarten, you work your way up. And so now you're 15, 16 years old, and let's say you're in 5th grade, 7th grade, it's time for you to go get a job. You're becoming a man, becoming a woman. And so we send them to trade school. That's part of one of our programs that we have is a trade school. And when we first started in the area where the school's at, and you'll see some of the videos, it was a desolate pit hole of poverty. And one of the trade schools we could send them to was for hairdressing and seamstress and hairdressing, especially for the young ladies. And we determined that if we sent them to school for hairdressing, no one could afford to have their hair done. People say, why are the kids, all the kids have the same haircut? And you'll see now there's different styles. It's because they were too poor to get a proper haircut. So they just found scissors or something sharp and they just buzzed their heads. And if boys and girls, everybody just had short hair. And so now, matter of fact, one of the girls that I sponsored for many years personally, she was our first child to get to go to hairdressing school because literally what we've done is transform the economy in the area, and people now can go get a proper haircut. Simple things like that you don't think about. So when people ask me all the time, why is it that the kids have similar haircuts? It's because the poverty has, they don't have the money to go get styles. It's unheard of. They're just happy to have food for the day. Let me show you this video, and anything you donate, I'm here. I get notification when a donation hits the website. I appreciate it, and we'll put it to good use. Again, we're doing a Christmas drive right now. $25 buys a kid a pair of shoes. You say, for a Christmas gift, give them a toy. No, a pair of shoes. It is amazing. They get so excited for a pair of shoes, and that's a gift you can give, is a pair of shoes for a kid for Christmas. $30 feeds a child. I mean, we have so many kids that are not sponsored. We're always at a food shortage. So listen, any amount you give makes great impact. And I don't know if you want to say it's a shoe fund. I don't care if you want to say it's the food fund. It doesn't matter to me. We're going to put it to use in that way because they're both big needs. Seasonally, we have a shoe need. We always have a shoe need because kids outgrow shoes or they destroy them or they play hard. But we always have a food problem. $30 feeds a child 2 meals a day for 30 days. $1 a day feeds a kid 2 meals a day. And if you watch this video, watch the food they eat. They're not eating, this is not bad food. This is hot cooked food. We're not giving them MREs. We're actually cooking them food, cooked meals for them. And for some of them, these are the only meals they get a day. They get a breakfast, usually a porridge or some kind of a cereal type food. And then they always get a protein throughout the day. And I want you to see the food they get. So when you buy $30, you're not like, we're not giving like snack packs. They're actually getting meals, and I want you to watch this now. So watch this video. This happened less than 24 hours ago. I'll have more coming out tomorrow. We'll be back there doing some great thing. But if you could donate today, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. I want you to notice a couple of things in the video. Look at the girls, and a lot of these girls, as they get older, will realize that they were saved from a life of, hate to say, but prostitution. And we have letters to prove older kids that have recognized that. It hits a realization. They go, wow, that's what my life would have become. And I want you to notice the food they eat and just the smiles on their face, because they have hope for a brighter tomorrow. And that's what we're giving. We're giving hope to kids. And we start the education. It's the ladder that they can use to climb from the pit of extreme poverty. You've never seen poverty like what we saw when we started this thing. And we're transforming it, not just culturally, not just spiritually, but we're transforming it with hopes and dreams that these kids never had. When we first started sponsoring kids, I'll be quiet after this. Kids, we'd ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? We had no kids that could answer that question. They never dreamt of living. They had no dreams. Every kid here, I want to be a cowboy. I want to be an Indian. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a soldier. I want to be a driver. Our first 2 years of operation in this area, no kid could answer the question in the sponsorship program, what do you want to be when you grow up? No one can answer it. Now, we have kids that want to become the president. They want to become a prime minister. They want to become a senator. They want to become a driver. They want to become a teacher. All of a sudden, kids have awakened up and said, oh, I can dream of a brighter tomorrow. And they can dream of a brighter tomorrow because of you. If you can make a donation, that's what you're doing. riverspromise.org. That's the website I want you to go to. This was a video. This was me showing up at the school. I tried to sneak out and do a quick prelim video. Happens every time. I'm hiding behind our vehicle, and they caught me. Watch this.
Key Rivers Promise. I just arrived on the campus of Legacy Christian Academy, our great school, and the kids just found me. I tried to sneak out of the car, and they always find me. I try to sneak away. How are you? Oh, good. Kunda. There we are. Legacy Christian Academy. Do you see your sponsored kid in here anywhere? Look around. Beautiful faces. If you don't see your sponsored kid, maybe these kids could be your sponsored kid. Everybody say hello.
That last hug in the video is a kid we talked about often named Stephen, and Stephen was literally weeks or months away from death until we found him had a severe case of a nasty hepatitis, and we had some people on the trip with us. Scott was actually on that trip, and we saw this kid, and we had a doctor, a medical professional, I should say, with us, and said that kid's not doing well, and got Stephen the help he needed, joined our sponsorship program, literally saved his life, and that's what we do. What we do. If you can donate, I would appreciate it. riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. It's at the screen. $1 is great. $1,000 is great. Listen, the Bible says don't despise small beginnings. And, sometimes that little bitty thing that the widow's mite, it's a very small amount, is very powerful. And we appreciate you doing that. $30 is a powerful thing to save a kid's life, feeding them. And that's a big need for us. And a special school drive for $25 to do that. Stacy, one of the viewers out there, sent a very generous gift for her sponsored child for a Christmas gift. And we're taking care of Stacy's child with a lecture special. And we appreciate everybody for participating. By the way, somebody asked me, it's tax deductible. Yes, we're a 501c3 organization, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Make a donation. And we'd appreciate it. I'm here a few more days, and I'll be back stateside for a period of time. Hopefully not very long, though. Ready to get back over here. All right, let's do it. It's Meme Roulette section of the show. This is where we steal memes from around the globe. By the way, Rwandan water, Inyanje. Inyanje, that's the brand name. Inyanje. Yeah, this brand name of water. I don't know why I showed you that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do the meme roulette. Here we go. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one know we go. Here we go. Former President Joe Biden said world leaders are still calling him for advice. Yep, that's probably about the phone that Joe operates right now. Probably about the right one. Let's do another one. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Being a liberal has to be exhausting. It must be awful going through life delusional, afraid, extremely emotional, hating your country, hoping it fails, and enraged all the time. Yeah, not being enraged all the time. Everybody relax. Relax. I was not enraged the entire time that Obama was in office. I spoke out, but I wasn't enraged. Liberals, they are. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. This is so true. So you're telling me due to allergies, a chef must know all the ingredients of a cupcake, but a doctor does not need to know the ingredients of the vaccine. That is so true right there, my friends. You let that one sink in. It's one of those things that makes your head spin. Chefs got to know, oh, it has peanuts. You got to put warnings. It has peanuts. It has this in it. But the vaccines, F it. Yeah. Yeah, they don't care. Yeah. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Liberalism, when you hate white males but also want to look exactly like a white male. And as an example, case in point, there's Rachel Madcow, the MSNBC host. Yep, hate white men. Hate white men. The problem is white privilege. It's a man, whatever they have this thing with men. Yeah, but why do you want to look like a man if they're so bad? Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Where do we go from here? This is true. This is from our buddy Lance Wallnow. This is so true. Without single degree, they built us roads that have lasted an eternity. Look at Rome. Look at those Roman roads. And then the engineers arrived, and that's what we got, the potholes. Yep, sometimes I think we ought to go back to the life without the engineers. Maybe it would be better. Yeah, Colorado should pay attention to that. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Tim Walz offered journalists free tampons to stop talking about his fraud scandals. Well, Tim Walz, what a disaster. It's proving in Minnesota that recognizing it's coming out of the closet, if you will, as to what a screw up Tim Walz has been as a governor, what a corrupt son of a gun he's been. Yeah, free tampons if you'll stop talking about all my fraud. Another one. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Running in your 40s is a great way to meet people. Today, I met 2 paramedics, 3 nurses, and a cardiologist, and I almost met Jesus. Yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah, that's not good. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. There it is. I hear it from China. It's the gong. We have stolen intellectual property as much as we possibly can. Even the Chinese are objecting to our thievery of intellectual property. It's been a pleasure, my friends. I should be back on, good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. And we get back on here to connect tomorrow. We'll be back here live from Rwanda for another couple of days before I begin the long journey home. But in the meantime, thanks for being a part of the show. I really, really do appreciate it. And kind of lift the cameras up here and see the night scene in Rwanda. There it is. National Stadium got building is dark over there. It's a glorious place. If you want to come with us, send us an email. If you'd like to come with us, feel free to send us an email, info@Lakey.com. Send us information about traveling to Rwanda. We have great tour guides, and it'll be the trip of a lifetime for you. We'd love to show you Legacy Christian Academy in person. Feel free to email us, riverspromise.org. Make a donation today. And also info@Lakey.com to contact us for anything. Hey, I'm English. Thanks, Producer Ken, for holding it all together. I'm in Rwanda. I am Lakey. God bless you. God bless America. Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.